Hi, everybody. We might just give people a couple minutes to join us here before we get started. I'll probably get started in just a minute or two. Kathy, what do you think? Should we give it a little bit more time or?
Let's give like a couple minutes for everyone to connect.
No problem. If you're just joining us, we'll just be getting started in just a minute here. We're just giving another little bit for folks to join us.
I think we can start, Derek.
All right. Well, welcome everyone. It's been quite a day. I think for a bunch of the folks here on the team, it started quite early in the morning, about 4 a.m. or so. Yeah, I mean the Moonriver network is well, the second slot auction was won. Moonriver is now producing blocks like on the Kusama network. I mean, it's just like a very important milestone for for the project. And yeah, I just want to share like a few thoughts on that, and maybe give some context, and provide some insights into some of the things that are coming next, particularly in the immediate term here in the next let's call it like 6 weeks or so. So there's some slides here that will kind of help guide that discussion. But before diving into that, I just wanted to share just some thoughts. I have a lot of the rest of the team here with me now, and I shared a couple of these thoughts with them earlier. That the cool thing like about today is that we spend a lot of our time, we've been working on this project obviously for quite some time, and but a lot of it ends up being kind of intangible, right? You work on software, but there was no production instance of it, right? You work on, kind of engaging with community members, but the whole concept of community can be a little bit of ethereal, I guess, in a way, right? It's kind of, and so I think the thing that for me was really striking today is this kind of tangibility that happened, right? So it's, all the software we've been working on now has this like live expression. There's this thing now that's like actually producing blocks that, even, if we were to, it's just kind of going to go on its own, right? And so that's something that's like very important. And, I think, the Crowdloan itself, and we'll get into some details about this, in a minute, but, just the successful Crowdloan itself, I mean, that's this great expression of the community, right? Of the community that's kind of formed around Moonbeam and Moonriver. And so, I'm just, very pleased, with this result. And, I think it's kind of at moments like this that I'm reminded of, why it is that, we started the project in the first place, and why it is that, we're working on this. I think we believe that that this is just a great opportunity. This is like a great time and place to be. We believe that these like Web3 technologies that we're building are going to change the way that financial services are created, delivered, and consumed. And I think it's just an amazing opportunity to be working in the Web3 space right now, and to have the opportunity to be part of this, part of the story. I think I've said it before that you don't get many opportunities like that in your life. So to be a part of a story as important as this one. So that's just really cool. And I think it's just kind of a day like this where you kind of, it gives you a little bit of pause, and you reflect on things like this. And I mean, I think one reason why we're able to achieve this is, of course, the awesome kind of team here, but it goes well beyond the team. And we'll hear about I'll kind of invite the team up to join me in a little bit. But why don't we head to kind of the next slide here. And I wanted to just talk a little bit about some of the results from the Crowdloan itself. So it did, as I mentioned, successfully complete earlier this morning. There was a total of a bit over 200,000, so 205,000 KSM. Just a really incredible result. That's a significant part of like the total outstanding KSM in circulation. So we're quite pleased with that. And I think what I'm more pleased about is these contributors, right? So 6,000, just shy of 6,000 contributors into the Crowdloan. That's like a really awesome kind of result. And I mean, I think that again, it's kind of this signpost, or this kind of indication of the kind of community that's forming around around Moonriver and Moonbeam. And I couldn't really be more pleased about this result. And why don't we go to the kind of the next slide here? I know that just wanted to make sure to answer or kind of give some context and answer some questions that we've been getting for folks that may be interested. The Crowdloan that the Moonbeam Foundation ran for Moonriver that just ended. There is a full kind of 30% of the mover tokens at Genesis, so the tokens on the Moonriver network, are put up as a reward for the folks that helped help support the Crowdloan. And so we'll describe a little bit what's happening here in the next slide, but we're entering now that we're occupied a slot. We are going to enter into this like launch sequence. And the idea behind the launch sequence is that we could have just all the way gone live like as soon as we had won the slot, but that probably wouldn't have been the safest thing to do, right? I mean, this is an extremely like complex system with like many moving parts and dependencies. And so we're always kind of thinking about the safety of the network to make sure that that again, security and safety like are kind of the first principles, right? They always have to come first. So with that in mind, we came up with this 5-phase launch sequence, or 4-phase, whichever, depending on how you look at it. But we have these different phases numbered 0 through 4. The end of this process will be what we call full launch. That's like when transfers will be enabled, EVM functionality will be enabled, and we're in like full production. Right now we're in phase 0, so we're calling that kind of the centralized phase. And so that right now, like PureStake, the company, like we're running the collator infrastructure that's producing blocks. And so it's running in what we're calling centralized mode, right? I mean, we have, we're kind of running the collators, and block production is happening, but it's not possible to do any transfers or anything else. So we wanted to observe this, and kind of at each step, we're going to observe, the chain, make sure that everything is running well, making sure that there's no security or other kinds of issues before we move, to the next step. So the next step is going to be basically a replacement of us just as the single centralized organization producing blocks on the network to our decentralized set of collator partners. So we have a whole bunch of awesome collator partners that have been helping us produce blocks on our Moonbase Alpha testnet. And so they'll be moving over to Moonriver to assist with block production there. And so there'll be a whole bunch of these collators producing blocks in the network. So effectively kind of decentralizing the infrastructure and ensuring kind of the censorship resistance properties like of the system and kind of the decentralization properties. So that's kind of phase 1. We'll kind of again make sure that process runs smoothly, that block production is happening all right, that the network is kind of running fine. Then the next phase is to kind of activate the on-chain governance features and start using them. So we are committed to this kind of full set of on-chain governance features, the same as one finds like on the Kusama relay chain itself, or Polkadot for that matter. We've configured them, a little bit to kind of suit like the needs of Moonriver and Moonbeam, but nevertheless, it is like a full on-chain governance process that dictates even things like upgrades. And so then, the next step after kind of activating that step would be the removal of the pseudo key. So the pseudo key right now is kind of this God key, if you will, or kind of this thing that allows us to make changes on the network, the Moonbeam Foundation in particular. But we want to remove that, and then that means that there's no longer any privileged accounts on the system that can kind of dictate like what happens. And then the future of the network is like in the hands of the token holders, and they can affect change through the on-chain governance mechanisms. So that's really an important step in step 3, and then governance will be used then to activate the EVM and transfers when the chain, I would consider it kind of fully launched or like full production. So this kind of 5-step process, it's not going to take like a long time, but we just want to do it one step at a time and check for kind of a safety and kind of like that everything is running normally in any one step before moving to the next step. Could we go back one slide actually? Just the previous slide. So just wanted to make the point here on the distribution. An important part of what we're trying to achieve with Moonriver is this kind of a community distribution basically, right? And so that's like a big motivation for the way that the Crowdloan itself was structured. But the idea is we wanted to kind of get Mover tokens into the hands of community members. So I think given the numbers that I shared earlier around 6,000 participants, I mean that we consider this a great success. And there will be other programs in the future that are designed to again kind of achieve kind of goals for the network, but at the same time distribute tokens into the hands of community members. Yeah, this is something that we're quite happy with the results here. So yeah, you can kind of advance a couple slides at this point. So yeah, I'll stop here and just make a couple other comments that with this launch sequence in mind. So I think that whole launch sequence we talked about before, let's just say like we estimated at around 6 weeks is probably what it'll take. It may be a little bit shorter, maybe a little bit longer, but That's kind of roughly like what we're estimating. And what we are then quite interested in doing is like once the network is fully launched, we have a pretty large set of ecosystem partners that are lined up to integrate with or deploy their protocols to Moonriver. So that's what I would kind of preview for you, that there's quite a bit of activity that's kind of lined up to happen. And already preparations are happening now, but as the network fully launches, there'll be a number of deployments onto Moonriver. In fact, a lot of our partners have plans to deploy to both Moonriver and Moonbeam, right? Kind of the same as us, kind of maintaining two network deployments. So this is something that like I think is actually like a great strength of Moonriver and Moonbeam, is this kind of partner ecosystem that's formed around the platform. And so this is something that we're going to be then focusing a lot of our energy on, is helping to support all of these partners in their deployments to Moonriver. And I think I want to just tie back to some of the things I spoke about earlier, that the story of Moonriver and kind of this important milestone we've hit today. I mean, yes, on the one hand, there's been a huge amount of energy put in from like our team at PureStake and other key partners. And I wanted to just highlight that it's not just us, right? So I'd say that key partners such as Parity and Web3. I mean, we're obviously standing on the shoulders of giants when it comes to the technology framework, things like Substrate and Polkadot itself, that we're kind of leveraging to be able to create like Moonriver and Moonbeam. They've been important partners. There's our co-leader partners. There's our ecosystem partners that are kind of integrating with us. There's all of our community members, our ambassadors and community members. So I think that all of these elements have kind of come together in this amazing way to help support the project. And so I mean, that's the thing that I'm really kind of most excited about and kind of bullish on, is kind of the how you kind of really you create something that's kind of like larger than yourself, right? I mean, there's like this whole community kind of forming like around Moonriver and Moonbeam. So I mean, that's just like really cool. And I would I guess I wanted to kind of thank like all of the people that like made this possible. That's kind of my the team at PureStake, but that's also all of these other all these other partners that have helped us in so many different ways. I think you can go on to the next slide here. Like I think one thing that might make sense before we go to the Q&A is I wanted to invite kind of like the PureStake team up here, and we all kind of wanted to collectively thank like everyone in the community that helped make this happen, because quite literally, like, it couldn't have happened like without like everyone's support in for the Crowdloan, right, to kind of to make this a reality. So I think if we can stop sharing for the moment, I think we'll see at least a whole bunch of the gang. Oh, there we go, a bunch of people. So yeah, I mean, thank you guys. You're all awesome. And like I mean, just my thanks to the whole the whole community, like everyone that kind of helped like get us to achieve this this awesome milestone today. We just like couldn't have done it like without like all of you. So I guess we're supposed to cheers, right? So let's send out like a cheers. I got my beer ready. So cheers to all you guys and to everyone.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Long live Moonbeam.
Hey, thank you to the community.
Thank you.
All right, awesome. So I guess like I know there's I tried to hit some of the questions that have come in, but like I may not be like all of the questions, right? So yeah, Kathy, I think that like I don't know, like there's probably some other questions that have either come in or that are coming in that it may make sense for us to answer.
Yes, we have some couple questions here. The first one is, will Mover be listed on Uniswap?
So I would say that like, I mean, Uniswap being like on like Ethereum, it's not necessarily our primary intention to do that, because we obviously want to support kind of activities like on like let's say Moonriver itself, and there are like we have a number of DEX partners that are deploying to to Moonriver. So I think it would make sense to support the deployments, the kind of the local deployments, right? That being said, these are all permissionless systems, and like I would be, kind of like I wouldn't be surprised if like enterprising minds like figure out like some way to wrap like the tokens, move them over to Ethereum, and then I mean that's kind of the power of these systems, is that like you can do these kinds of things. But I would say that for us that's not necessarily a primary goal. We're going to like focus most of our energy on supporting kind of the partners and the activity like on Moonriver itself.
Perfect, Derek. Thank you for your answer. The next question is, when is the community going to be able to get their KSMs back?
Yeah, so that's another good question. So I think, the one thing I would clarify there is that, the Crowdloan mechanism is not something that we created. So we have, kind of, implemented, in partnership with the Moonbeam Foundation, the rewards kind of structure. But for the Crowdloan that the foundation was running, that's functionality that's on the Kusama relay chain itself. So, when people contribute into that, like we don't, neither, ourselves, Pure Stake, nor the Moonbeam Foundation ever have like direct control of those funds. So it's kind of all subject to rules that are, on the Kusama relay chain. So the rules that are that if you contribute to the Crowdloan, you kind of are along for the ride then for the slot occupancy that we were bidding on. And in our case, we bid on the a 48-week occupancy, so across however many slots that is. So I think since we have a successful Crowdloan now like any KSM contributors are going to be locked for the duration of our slot occupancy, but you will receive those KSM back at the end of the slot occupancy.
Perfect. And then other question from the community is, will there be a staking of movers?
So yes, that's there definitely is. So we do have, in fact, I think I see Josh and some other folks that like worked on Amar. I think if he's here, I'm not sure. Several of the folks in the team like worked on the implementation of this. So we do have like a staking function that's integral to Moonriver itself, and will be also present on Moonbeam. I would kind of highlight this because this is actually something that is like unique to us at the moment, where I think our feeling was that this was a very important piece of functionality to include as kind of we considered a minimum feature set. It's really what's allowing us to have a decentralized set of collator partners that are like that are permissionlessly able to come in and help produce blocks in the network. Because we didn't feel comfortable launching with kind of a proof of authority style system, we really wanted, from day one to have a permissionless set of collators. And so, this like staking functionality is kind of a key component that helps drive the selection of those collators and who it is that is allowed to author blocks like on the system.
Perfect. And one person from our community is also asking about the phase 0 of the Moonriver launch process that is decentralized. Can you give more details about what that means?
Yeah, so I mean, that's the state we're in, like literally in right now. So what that means is that, right now, like we are up and running, like as a Parachain, we're connected to Kusama. We are producing blocks. So, these collators that we're running are producing blocks. They're being sent up to relay chain validators on Kusama, which are finalizing them. So, there's a bunch of things that are happening, but like, and if you go to like, for example, Subscan, you'll see, you can connect to like Moonriver or the Polkadot.js apps, let's say, and like you can connect to Moonriver and see blocks being produced. However, some other functionality on the chain is like not accessible right now. So you can't, like, for example, initiate governance motions. You can't deploy smart contracts or like or send mover tokens around. So those are the kind of pieces of functionality that will be activated in subsequent phases.
Perfect. And we also shared a link where like everyone can see all the Moonriver launch process. So if you guys want to get more details, we recommend you to visit that site. We have another question, and is if there's going to be a sale before the full launch.
Not of like of mover tokens, no. And so these are all obviously all decisions ultimately that would come from the Moonbeam Foundation, but there are no plans, for that. Again, it kind of goes back to the way the vision for kind of like the tokens here is that to distribute them to community members based on mechanisms like the Crowdloan and possibly others in the future.
Perfect. And then other question is about the DEX listing. Is there any planned DEX that you can announce now?
Well, I mean, I think that we again we look to like the partners that we have. So I mean, even if you just go to the website, the Moonbeam.network website, and look like at the DEX partners that we've announced, those are the ones that will be deploying to either Moonriver or Moonbeam, and so those are the ones that we would seek to to help support. And there's not just one or two. There's like a variety of different dexes that all have their own unique kind of strengths. Like so, I think that there'll be different different kind of options to choose from.
Perfect. And let's go with our last two questions since like we're close to the end of the time. So the next question is, can you tell us about your vision for working with other parachains?
Yeah. So I think, I've gotten the question before. It's like, well, like, why are we even part of Polkadot at all, right? Or like, what is kind of the key benefit of being a parachain? And I'll be honest here and say that, while shared security, I mean, that's, one thing that's often talked about. I find that interesting, but for me, that's actually a little bit more of a means to an end. The more interesting thing is this kind of like built-in like native networking, right? So this built-in ability to send messages and to interact with other chains. And the shared security in my mind is a little bit of a means to an end to achieve that. So that, I mean, that's definitely like where I see some of the most interesting, forward-looking feature work happening is in providing integrations to other chains. So it could be to the relay chain, it could be to like other parachains. In the beginning, that's going to be, I think a lot of it's going to be focused on like token, the ability to like move tokens like between chains, and perhaps base functionality like staking and other things. But that's just the start, right? I mean, I think that's going to be where we start, and I think there's like a lot, as we evolve, like there'll be like more specialized functionality that we want to provide kind of remote access to. And so I think that's kind of part of the longer term vision. I mean, part of our vision is just to take this powerful but somewhat complicated thing, make it more accessible, and provide kind of this, the best possible development environment we can. And so I think providing a rich set of integrations to like all of the other specialized, assets and functionality that are on Polkadot. I mean, that's something that like we want to do. I kind of, I've talked before about this vision of kind of providing like almost like a decentralized AWS, right? Something that's like simple and powerful to use, but like, allows you to access different kinds of specialized services. So I think that's, that's kind of where you start to understand like, well, that's really only like possible, or, being a parachain on Polkadot sets you up for that kind of, to deliver that kind of system in a way that would be quite difficult to do, I think, as a standalone chain.
Perfect. And the last question from the community, a very popular question. When is Moonbeam? When is the Moonbeam popping?
Moonbeam, yes. Like so, yeah. I mean, as everyone is, I'm sure, aware, like part of that answer to that question is in the hands of Parity, and so it's a little bit hard to speak in certainties. Like they're not fond of kind of kind of these like forward kind of like date-driven commitments. But our expectation is that it'll be like let's call it like late summer, basically. I mean, and everything we're doing now. I mean, think of it this way, that it's like, it's not just the code that's the same, but it's also, it's a dry run, right? So we're going operationally, we're figuring out how to do, all of these things such that like, when we have to go do those things again, like for our Moonbeam deployment, we're going to, have a bunch of experience under the belt. So, I think that's kind of, at least one of the concepts around Kusama in general, right? Was to have that effect. And so I can already tell we've already learned like a lot, basically, right? Compared to, kind of doing something for the first time. So I think that we'll have a lot of confidence going into that Moonbeam deployment, and I think that like it's going to be in the late summer or perhaps like early fall. That's kind of the timing.
Excellent. And that was our last question. So let's do our last cheers, and thank you everyone for joining us today.
Yep. Thanks. Cheers. Thanks to everyone who supported us.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks to the team.
Thanks, guys.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Woo! Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye.